Yo, what up, everybody? This is an episode basically recapping the Oscars of this year, 2020, which focuses on films that came out in 2019. On this episode, I talked to people who've been on this show before, Dominic Griffin and Roxana Hadadi. They're split. It's not together, so it's like two sections. It's a lot of film talk. I'm a film critic. One of my many things I do, and occasionally, for those who may not have listened to my show before, there are film-focused episodes. So I hope you enjoy this openly non-specific episode about the Oscars, full of candor and thoughts on Parasite and the Academy as such. You in the show notes, you can find all the links on how to find and get links to how to follow both of my guests, Dominic Griffin and Roxana. Also on the website, or whatever way you see it in all the words and stuff connected to the episode, you can find ways to figure this all out and see. So, ignorantblisspodcast@gmail.com is the email. Like, share, subscribe, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Podcasts on all the ways in which you can find and search for and listen to podcasts. IGBL Podcast on Twitter. My personal handle is Julian Lytle, Lytle, on most social media. You can find Ignorant Bliss Podcast on Facebook. There's a page. I don't have a group, even though it seems like Facebook is all we talk about is groups now. That's all. Hope you enjoyed the episode, and peace.
Cool.
So, man, how you doing? Welcome back.
Pretty good, man. How are you? Thanks for having me back on.
Oh, man, I'm chilling. You know, we just finished, a movie Super Bowl, or kind of like wrestling. You got
made through Mania.
Yeah, which means the season actually doesn't stop. We just go to the next week of movie. You know, it's just continuous. There is no breaks.
It's relentless.
So, is it safe to say that the Oscars kind of shocked everybody? Because I sure enough wasn't expecting Parasite to get anything other than international film or whatever.
You know, I want to say, I think it was a surprise. I think it was definitely a surprise that Parasite did as well as it did. But I wasn't super crazy shocked. And I'll say that it kind of reminds me a little bit of the year Moonlight won. You know, obviously when Moonlight won, there was a lot of controversy around the whole envelope fumbling and La La Land and all that jazz. But Moonlight winning, Moonlight being Best Picture, I remember thinking, I feel like a lot of the voters that voted for this movie really didn't, they did it because they felt like they were supposed to. Mm-hmm. I have a hard time believing that the same voting body that voted for Green Book, voted for Parasite for any reason other than the fact that it had a lot of momentum and a lot of people kept talking about it. And it was, it was a very powerful sort of zeitgeisty kind of movie. And I think they just didn't want to look lame for not liking it, which is fine by me. I don't care how it happens. I'm glad it happened. But yeah, it was a shock.
Yeah, man. I just think there was this secret group chat that for everybody under 40, they decided not to split their vote up this time. They were like, we're going to do it in a team effort. We're going to do this. We're going to get Parasite the win. We can't let the old LA people win.
I will say something too. It's I think we've talked about this before, that it's I feel like even though the Oscars can have some really bad duds and sometimes things can be really embarrassing, like Green Book, the Oscars tends to be, I feel closer to an agreeable consensus than the Grammys does for music.
No,
I feel like
we now know the Grammys are cheaters.
Yeah, so there's a sense of it's like, yeah, this seems about right. Maybe for some people it's debatable whether or not Parasite was really as good as all the hype and stuff, but this feels right. I mean, it was a huge movie. I think it's a big deal that like a foreign film was able to penetrate and connect with so many people here stateside. And it's a dope movie. Bong Joon-ho's a cool filmmaker. He's like entertaining in real life. The cast doing the whole tour of award season was entertaining and fun and cool, and like, I don't know, it felt right.
Yeah. I was pleased when I was watching the last 45 minutes or so of the show. We're like, oh, the wins keep on coming. Like, oh, this is good. We got some good speeches. He's gonna get drunk. Yeah, okay. This is what's up.
Especially considering that almost all the categories were such like foregone conclusions. There weren't any surprises. It was just like all the acting categories were exactly what we expected. So, seeing it pull out that Best Director win was like, I was real grateful for that because I'm pretty much good on 1917. So like,
I was sure that joint was gonna win. Like I was like, that joint has so much momentum. It won so many awards, and I was like, we talked about it shortly. Like to me, it's a good movie. It's Lord of the Rings. You know what I'm saying? It's Lord of the Rings.
All of the cool shit that actually happens in Lord of the Rings.
It's like this should have been the Tolkien movie instead of the Tolkien movie. But
low-key, I'm a little bit surprised that somebody, because Amazon's like redoing Lord of the Rings or whatever with like all the all the Bezos money. I'm low-key amazed somebody wasn't like, oh, if we are gonna redo it, here's how we could. But I feel like maybe that's a phone call Roger Deakins might have hung up on. Like, Roger, we want to do it again, but with orcs. Hello?
Click.
Mr. Deakins?
But yeah, like it was a lot of foregone conclusion. The funniest part of the entire night, well, actually no, it's Eminem appearing as an old man.
And everyone's
face. Everyone's faces. It was like you could see the ones who were like, I split it up. It's like they were the millennials and the late Xers because they were head nodding and knowing every lyric. There was the old people like, I don't know what's going on. And then there's Billie Eilish, completely, utterly flabbergasted. Like, who is this old man on the stage?
To be fair though, obviously she knows who Eminem is.
Yeah,
I can't imagine a young white person that doesn't, but like, it's not so much just like, oh, why is Eminem here? It's just more like, okay, I get that you did not perform the year that you won, and that was like 20 years ago almost.
So long.
It's just random to do. And I know it's because he had like the new album out to promote and stuff, but like that whole montage of music was really cool otherwise. Yeah. It was such a cool... music and film is really important. This is a neat little. I wish the Oscars had more like montage things, like to celebrate old movies. It would be cool if they showed other movies before like 1980 as well. But they're neat. I like the montages. But I remember there was a moment in it where it was building up to like, oh man, I think I've seen more Eminem in this montage than I did like Humphrey Bogart. That's weird. Something seems wrong. And then it just cut to the performance. Now it's like, yeah, this is wrong. This is all very wrong.
And they messed his sound up too, because it's like he couldn't get, like, it wasn't sounding right for the first 30 seconds of the song, which is the key part of the song.
That's the most important part.
Mom spaghetti, like, come on, sound people. Nobody knows everything past the first verse.
I remember thinking, like, is he gonna like? Is this gonna be like a medley where he's gonna move into like another song? Like, I think the only way this would have been like more baffling is if he just came out and performed the song from Venom, like that while we're talking about great Eminem movie music.
I almost wish they did a rap medley, like you go Eminem, then I wanted to see Juicy J and Paul and Taraji, and then you could have put like Lin-Manuel up there. He could just like, well, next year you get to hear Hamilton.
Lin-Manuel Miranda, if they had waved at him in the crowd, he would have run up and just jumped in it. Like he's always seemed so ready to like rap that nerdy shit. Like so bars, that would have been fine. It was so strange, man. It would have been more interesting if they had like Eminem do sort of the opening performance thing that like Janelle and them did. You know, like if they made him like freestyle about all the movies or something, like that would have been weird, but like it would have at least been like relevant. It seems so odd to me. Like, let's have a longer musical performance of a winner from 2002 than any of the nominees for this year.
That weird Frozen performance where it was like all the else's.
That was a bit much too.
I was like, what are you guys doing? Like, I'm confused.
Y'all can't even like harmonize. Like, this isn't. This is not the song for this concept.
Yeah, and then is it Utash? I can't say his name right, but the cool South Asian guy that just started rapping as a recap. I was like, is this is a thing now, huh? Like, this is
I remember thinking like, this is corny. I remember thinking that he seems like a nice guy or whatever. I'm personally not. I don't know if I'm going to sound like an asshole for this, but I'm personally not into like Hamilton rap or any of that type of like. I just don't like that sort of like Target commercial rap that a lot of people like because of Hamilton.
Safe rap.
Yeah, like I just hear that and I'm just like, oh, I'd rather cut my ears off. But again, that made like if Eminem had popped up to do what that guy did, that would have been corny. But I would have been like, oh, well, that makes sense. Eminem's like a hugely famous person. They're trying to pop a rating. He won an Oscar. He's an actual Oscar winner. And if Eminem is here to be like, you know, here's what it's like a Parasite or something like, you know, with a bunch of like multi-syllable, you know, rhymes and stuff, it would have been strange, but it would have made sense. But
miracle.
I guess miracle. Yeah, I guess I'm cool with the fact that like they were trying to make the telecast more fun, right? They were trying to make it like a little bit more interesting. But you know, you could have just gotten like a cool host. I don't know why the whole being afraid of having a host, like, you know, because they might have bad tweets or whatever is silly.
10 years ago, yeah.
Just like, I don't know. I thought it's like, I guess I could say it's like, you know, like A for effort. You know, it's still a really long show with a lot of like corny, boring pieces. The awards are still very dependent on what crop of films come out in any given year, you know. And I guess they did a good job to try to make it seem a little more like valuable to more people. But I guess the best thing I can say is like, I can't believe that like my favorite movie of the year won all these big awards in the second half of the telecast, and I still felt kind of bored. You know, like even though I was hyped for Parasite, the show itself I was still kind of like whatever on. So it's like one of my complaints for the Oscars has always been that the films I really care about are always shafted. So the fact that the film I really cared about wasn't shafted and I still didn't like give that much of a shit just means that maybe the Oscars are hopeless. and I should just accept that like this is what it's going to be like every year, and you know, that's just that.
Well, what do you think? You think the Oscars got like maybe 5 more years on TV? You think like at a certain point it should just be like some type of weird streaming thing?
It's going to be on Facebook Live. You're just going to get a notification.
Let's be honest. Like, it'll be on Twitch or it'll be on YouTube. Things that make money.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Well, I mean, I think it'll continue being on TV. I mean, I think about the Oscars and I think like, you know, it's the Grammys at least has like, okay, even if you have a year of the Grammys where like a bunch of shitty, terrible music wins awards, a bunch of big famous artists are always going to want to perform at the Grammys. You know what I mean? So even like a bad music year could yield like a good Grammy telecast. Like you could have a lot of really cool performances, people teaming up, and you know, somebody that we like is probably dead, and they're going to get a cool medley from a bunch of people that they, if they were alive, would not want singing their songs. You know, there's stuff that's going to happen that'll make the Grammys interesting, regardless of who's nominated and who wins. But I think the Oscars are hamstrung a little bit in that, like, every couple of years they try to experiment things to make it more exciting, and like none of it works. Like, I think I've watched the Oscars at least in part every year for the last, like, I would say probably like 15 to 20 years. I mean, I watch it pretty regularly.
Yeah.
And I can't think of one where I'm like, oh, you know what? That was a good Oscars. You know, like, there's not a single one. Even this one is one where I guess I would go, hey, a lot of stuff I liked won awards, and there were a couple of nice moments. And even then, I already don't remember most of it. And don't care. You know, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, if I was hired, like as a consultant, like make the Oscars cool, I don't know what I would do. I would probably cut like a bunch of categories, or like, I mean, I don't know. The only way I could see making the Oscars cool is if it lasted like an hour and a half, and we gave out all the acting awards in the same 5-minute stretch. We just opened the show with like, all right, here's 7 acting awards, and then like I would make all the technical awards have like more backstage stuff for like the actual nominee bits, you know, because like there's little things they try to do, like for the screenplay awards, they show you bits of the screenplay, but weird. They never. They've done variations of that at different awards. They just never make. They're never good ones. Like when I read screenplays, sometimes I'll read a script and be like, "Oh, that's a really good passage." Like if this is up for an award, and someone just read this aloud, it would sound really cool. They never pick passages like that. It's always just like, I mean, discarding the fact that the Joker was even nominated for a fucking writing Oscar, the bit of the script that they showed was like one of the worst written bits in the whole script, you know? Like, there were definitely other moments you could pluck out by themselves that almost make them seem like competent writers. Probably, and they didn't even do that.
Yeah, like, if they showed the words with, like, Joaquin actually performing them, maybe like, if you read this was trash, but him performing it, I almost think they should put the screenplay, like, if a film is multiple things like that, like screenplay, actor, and like maybe best picture or something, almost like combine the little vignette into like multiple things in one thing, and just like, all right, and then by the time you get to the war, like I don't need all this, like I don't need the extra singing parts. Like I almost think like the song should just be the part that bridges you to commercial. So by the time you get to like 5 commercial breaks, you've heard all the nominees. Because no one's really checking for music from movies anyway like that anymore.
Well, especially considering that every year there's usually only like a good song, if that. You know, it's not a category that it really attracts.
Yeah, it's not the 90s anymore. Like,
yeah, there's not a bunch of really dope original songs in movies. Like, usually all the really cool music moments, even that montage they did kind of proved it. In modern movies, all of the really cool music moments are from pre-existing songs being used in a unique manner.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of little moments where I'm like, okay, like, you know, Tiny Dancer wasn't an original song and What Almost Famous came out. That's just a really cool moment in the movie. Like, they're not going to give away an award for, like, best use of a song in a movie at the Oscars. You know, otherwise, like, fucking Quentin Tarantino would be showing up every year, or, like, Wes Anderson would be walking home with an Oscar for liking The Kinks. It'd just kind of be pointless. You know, as we're talking about this, I realized all of the ideas I would have to make the Oscars cooler to me would actually make them insufferable to the masses. Because my biggest pet peeve about the Academy Awards is that all of the non-acting categories, like, people don't really, a lot of people don't always fully understand what each category means and does. Mm-hmm. So when it comes up, people just have like the dumbest thought process about what should win or why. And, you know, I think about how there's tons of really cool behind the scenes footage and interview content for every film that's made.
Yeah.
How cool it would be if that was like, if in best cinematography, you actually showed some shit about how they were able to capture these images, what processes they used, things like that. Like, you know, for editing, if you showed like a piece of raw footage and then showed how they edited it to make it interesting in a sequence or something, like, but those things would kill the momentum of white people in suits handing each other golden statues, you know? So I think we just sort of had to accept that the Oscars are going to be this kind of corny, archaic thing, and that's its purpose, you know? Like, even when a cool, new, vital thing wins an Oscar, it's taking something that's interesting and, you know, giving it the archaic seal of approval. So maybe this is how it's got to be.
Yeah, this is the way it is until, you know, they make up some new stuff, which is possible. You know, the Academy Awards ain't even really 100 yet, so.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like if they finally start having like stunt awards, you know, for like the stunt coordinators and stunt teams and stuff. Then instead of having the best song, you could just have a bunch of like fight scenes reenacted throughout the Oscars on the stage.
People people taking falls and bumps from like the upper tiers. Like, yo,
Man, can you imagine if the Oscars opened up with like some, I don't know, like Aziz Ansari is the host or something, and then all of a sudden the stage just turns into him reenacting like the elevator fight from Winter Soldier, like on stage while singing this stupid song. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird, but it's like, hey, like, again, it comes down to the fact that I think, a musical award show can just show live music throughout their awards. A cinematic award show, you can't really make the Oscars like look better. It's a live telecast. You're not going to have like, who directed the Oscars this year? Oh, Herzog. he decided to shoot the whole thing in 16 millimeter. Like, no, it's the Oscars. Like, it's always going to look like that.
Yeah, it should. I never understood why it has overrun. To be quite honest, I'm mad when the Grammys go over by like an hour because I'm like, you guys, your planning sucks. But it is what it is. Was there anybody who didn't? Was there anything that didn't win that really that you wish had won? That's like a simple ass question, but in some of the other categories, like, man, it'd have been nice if this person got this or whatever.
Like a lot of my frustrations were actually at the nomination level, like things that just straight up weren't even nominated.
Yeah, okay.
But in terms of stuff that was nominated but did not win, like I think that for me, if I had to pick one that was the most egregious, was Jojo Rabbit winning Best Adapted Screenplay. For me, that category this year had a lot of fat in it to begin with, but like, I feel like Taika Waititi took like an interesting kind of challenging book and turned it into like a goofy feel-good comedy for like liberal America, and they gave him an Oscar for it. And I would have much rather seen that award go to Little Women. And the last couple of days, the discourse around that has just been really like sickening to me. Where I've seen a lot of people voice the opinion I have, which is that Little Women is a better movie, a better written movie, and it's a more interesting and challenging adaptation of source material, which are like the three main things Best Adapted Screenplay should be highlighting, right?
Yeah.
And every time I see someone post like, man, Greta Gerwig was robbed. She adapted a book that's been adapted like 4 times and made it feel fresh and new, and like just got fucking nothing for it,
Kind of like A Star Is Born the previous year. Like,
yeah, right. Yeah, it was different. I had similar feelings. I thought that was, I have some hangups about A Star Is Born, but that's a pretty strong script, all things considered. A lot of what makes that movie work is in the script, even though people don't think it that way.
Yeah.
But anytime you see someone point out, hey, Greta Gerwig was robbed, this is a really great script, it's like, yeah, well, but Taika Waititi's indigenous and like part Jewish, so like white women need to stop trying to like steal his thunder. And it's like, man, like I'm all for inclusion and I'm all for like underrepresented groups being, winning awards and stuff like that. But like no amount of brownness or genetics is going to change the fact that Jojo Rabbit's a garbage movie to me. And it's really strange to me that we can't even have the conversation about like which of these 5 nominees was like the best without having this. It's like, I get to people like Taika Waititi. He seems nice. I'd hang out with him, I guess, but his movies suck. This is like one of the worst movies I think I've seen in years. And it's so odd to me that it won an award that I don't think it deserved. And you can't even say that without people just being like, It's you know what I'm saying. It seems odd to me because I'm like, why are we trying to make the guy that directed now 2 Thor movies an underdog?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. Like, this dude has like, he just directed like the finale of like a big Disney show. He has like a television show on FX that's like successful. Like, he's a huge name in Hollywood already.
He's eating.
Like,
he's eating quite well.
He's eating very well. This is Greta Gerwig's like 2nd movie, and people are trying to make it like she's some kind of like juggernaut that we have to tear down, And it's just, that's really strange to me. The same thing happened, I feel like, with Lady Bird, where like, a lot of people liked Lady Bird when it came out, but again, she was up against like Jordan Peele and like Guillermo del Toro and stuff, and people were just like, oh, it's just white feminism. And it's like, there are a lot of things that are fucked up and wrong in Hollywood that are like, the poster child of white feminism. And it's just odd to me because I just don't think of Greta or her work in that way. And
I don't know if she's done enough for me to get that from her, It
That's what I'm
seems like
saying, though. It's like
I
she's
still see
made
her
two
as an actress. To be
movies.
quite honest, I'm like, oh yeah, she does make movies now. Like,
But it's like she came up in the mumblecore scene the same way a lot of like younger indie director guys did and stuff. But Lady Bird's her first sole writing directing credit, and I think it's an incredible movie. I think I love it, and to me it's weird that Little Women didn't get more awards overall because I'm like it's the sort of shit that Oscars love, right? And it's the sort of thing that I hate. Like every year, if I see a poster with a bunch of people in the past, right away, I'm about to check out. It doesn't even matter what the movie is. Like it could be about like they could also be ninjas or something. But part of me is like, it's the past, and I know it's just gonna be a bunch of people in rooms looking at each other and being sad over like writing letters. And that's just not what I like in movies. But when I watched Little Women, man, I loved it. I thought it was like. I thought this movie, when I watched it, I thought this is like unassailable. This is going to be humongous. That's how I felt. I thought this is like if I like it this much, what about like all the white people in the world who love the past? Like this shit's going to be huge.
Oh yeah, this is peak. Yeah, this is peak white people movie. Like that's my only issue with it is like, oh yeah, it's like white people in the past movie. Like, all right, but I was like, but it seemed kind of like, yo, it is not getting any of the love any of those previous. White people like what was the movie last year? Was it the one with the one about the queen and her two friends?
The Favorite.
The favorite. You got The Favorite. You might have like Brooklyn. You have like a whole bunch of other these movies about like period, early 20th century, late 19th century, 17th century, 18th century white people doing some period shit, and it's like, oh, this is like top 3 favorite. He's gonna win. And I was like, okay, Little Women. I was almost pre-hating on Little Women because like, yo, this joint about to be like a lock. And then I get to it's like, yo, that joint got like 3 nominations. I'm like,
I think if I'm not mistaken, it got like costume design.
It won that.
Because it's a period movie. It must be really hard to make old dresses.
You gotta make all them clothes. Like you can't go to the thrift store for that. Like I'm like, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Like it's good, but. You was in the thrift store for that. Like you was.
To me, it's like it's costume design, and like production design. Always going to a period movie always pisses me off. Like I really thought that Parasite should have got production design, personally. But it's like, hey, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood took place in the past. It's hard to find old cars. I'm like, okay, cool. But to me, Little Women is like there's this thing about Greta Gerwig's movies where. Both Lady Bird and Little Women are, ostensibly like white people movies. But when you watch them, there is something different about them compared to like Lena Dunham's work or somebody like that, And I think the number one thing that's different is I feel like Greta like clearly grew up, like white people broke, and her stories are very much informed by like, not having things. Like Lady Bird is like one of the best movies, like modern movies to me about like being like poor.
Yeah.
Even though it's like authentically from like a white person in Sacramento's perspective versus, she's not like in like some like opioid den in like a rural America.
It's not Winter's Bone.
Yeah, it's not Winter's Bone, right? But it's still like pretty rough for and it's authentic and it's real. That's like her like life story. And Little Women, even though it takes place in the past, it's based in a book like that. It deals with like the same thing about not having, and it's interesting to me that the things that make her films unique to me, because you can see it even in her work with Noah Baumbach, right? Like in Frances Ha and stuff. Like I can't think of somebody else making stories about being broke and white in film right now the way she is. And to me, that's what sets it apart from her peers. It makes it kind of better, but. The people that don't like her and shit on her prematurely, I don't even think are wrestling with that element in her work. They just see like a white woman prominently featured in anything, and they're just like, well, here comes this bitch, fuck her. And it's like, but you guys, it's just odd to me that that's the narrative. It's like, yeah, like, fuck Greta Gerwig and white feminism, and it's like, okay, but Taika, though. 2 Thor movies, right? I just want to get that out of the way. Like, we're talking about a dude who parlayed making some really cringy art house movies and a couple of decent comedies into making 2 giant blockbusters. Was about to make a fucking Akira movie, and we're going to talk about this guy like hey man, things were really hard for Taika. You know, like it was really hard to add a cartoony version of Hitler to a book. Like, okay, all right, that's how y'all want to do it. Do it.
You do know that once you get that box logo on you, you get a nice sheen of unassailability in this. You know what I'm saying? You know, they get you for cheap. They make you to a star, and then you have a league of fans that will defend you to the ends of the earth because you made a funny Thor movie.
That's how I feel about it. I'm like, y'all really gonna fucking go to war for this man because he made a funny Thor movie? And it's like, I like Ragnarok. You know, it's cool. I'll probably watch his other funny Thor movie, but I don't know, man. To me, this just speaks to like a weird, troubling thing happening in like film fandom. You know, like it's just odd.
It's been it's caught the virus from superhero comics, and it was what I feared many years ago, and it is happening.
We're watching it happen in real time.
It's what we grew up with, and we're watching it all over again. And it's just like when the bubble pop, it's gonna be way worse because there's a lot more jobs involved. But that's an entirely different. That's an entirely different conversation.
That is a future episode. It's gonna be very depressing.
But I want to wrap up soon because I'm busy. What are you looking forward to this year right now, the little bit that we kind of do know, since we finished Sundance, but you know we still got like some big festivals and some random announcements and some movies being sold coming that we don't know everything's going to be out in the fall, but
the big movies I think I'm looking forward to for the new year is like I'm Fincher has a movie coming. It's gonna be on Netflix. The Mank, about the guy that co-wrote Citizen Kane. I'm definitely looking forward to new Fincher. Steven Soderbergh, The God, has another movie coming out this year, or two for all we know, because he's been shooting movies on random weekends and then announcing it. There's a couple. The new Wes Anderson movie. Definitely looking forward to that. You know, I like watching symmetrical shit.
It's cute, man. It's so cute. I love it. Like, it's cute.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, there's I feel like I saw a trailer today for something where I was like, I wasn't excited before, but I saw the trailer today for The Green Knight, the new A24 movie from the guy that made Ghost Story and stuff like that. Like, that movie looks really good with Dev Patel as Gawain. Yeah, I watched the trailer and I was like, oh, okay, like I'm here for this. So that's kind of what I'm looking at now. I feel like there's going to be like 10 movies that come out at the very end of the year that I'm not even thinking of that I'm going to end up loving. You know, that's kind of how it always goes.
Man. All right, man. I want you to promote yourself. You got the good YouTube channel and then like all your handles.
Oh, yeah. So if you want to find me anywhere on the internet, you can follow me on Twitter at allnewdom. It's where I like usually aggregate all my like different stuff. I write at Spectrum Culture. You can find me on Rotten Tomatoes, RT certified. But mainly now I run a YouTube channel called The Armchair Auteur. It's on YouTube. It's just me every other week or so doing like film reviews, talking about different stuff, just doing what we're doing here basically. So, check that out, subscribe and all that.
Get some color into that video essay world. God damn it.
Really?
I like the people, but it's very white.
This is true.
But yeah, man, I want to thank you for coming on for this short episode, and we got to do it again probably maybe later in the year once we get to the halfway mark. Post Black Widow, I guess. That's a good Disney halfway mark.
That's fair.
They're not doing a movie a month this year. It's every 6 weeks. So. But yeah, man, I want to thank you a lot, man.
Thank you, man.
Night. I guess I'll see you soon.
Definitely, bro. Later.
All right, peace.
Take out the trash. I need to take out the trash. I need to throw away some stuff.
And yeah, but at least the Oscars weren't terrible. That was at least that
Yeah,
was at least something.
how is that being like surprised? Like that was a surprising Oscars.
I was extremely surprised. Were you surprised? Well, first of all, what were you rooting for? Because I know that we disagreed on Joker, but I don't know what else you really liked last year because we didn't really see each other last year. So, like, of the nominees, what did you like or dislike?
I think I'm on the minority side. I'm in the middle. I'm not even in the middle. I'm in my own side in regards to the Joker because I'm not with the people, the super supportive people, and I'm not with like the folks who like hate it. But I've read 40 years of Batman comics, so I'm coming at this from a different view. But like, I didn't even see all the nominees because like I'm not in any guilds or clubs or like they don't send me movies. So if I didn't get a chance to see them, like I thought 1917 was going to win because like I saw it and I was like, oh shit, it's the Lord of the Rings, but the original version. And like I know why like the Golden Globe people was like, yeah, and like they're European and shit. Like of course this is them. You get all this point, like, it's course it's going to win. Then I read the anonymous picks in the THR. It's like,
oh my God.
These people love Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This joint might come in on the low. But I was like, they're never picking East. I'm like, they're never picking something from Asia to be the best film. Like, nah, it has subtitles. Like, you can't even watch the dub. Like, I don't even know there's people who watch the dub of, like, Crouch the Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm like, you fucking savage. Like, right. What is wrong with you?
Something that I read that was really interesting, and I feel like this is probably obvious at this point, but maybe not obvious. I don't know. But I read that now with like how they've changed the rules, the estimate is that like 50% of the Academy is now international members. So that was sort of interesting to me because like for sure, like you said, like Once Upon a Time really ran on this campaign of like, remember what Hollywood used to be like, and like remember like all this nostalgia, like look at the industry, like all that shit. But then I do feel like there probably were tons of people voting for it for that reason. But then also, like, if all the international members, like, sort of banded together for Parasite, like, I totally could have seen the vote skewing that way. But I thought, like you said, that since 1917 was winning almost everything leading up to it, that was sort of an interesting indicator. But then the flip side of that is that the largest percentage voting body in the Academy are actors. Yeah. And so Parasite winning at the Screen Actors Guild Awards, basically for their version of Best Film, that also was a little bit of a clue that, like, maybe it's going to go Parasite's way. But for them to win both Best Film and Best International Film.
And Best Director.
Right, yeah, and Best Original Screenplay. I mean, like all four, like, that's like, wild.
Like, yeah. I was like, huh? Like,
yeah, like Bong, just like you keep reading Bong's name.
I'm like, is this Korean man really out here? Like all like,
yeah.
I was like, whoa, like it went kind of regular. Like it was like, okay, Brad Pitt starts off, he gets the award. You know what I'm saying? He has this funny speech. You know, Joaquin was going to get his. Sadly, Laura Dern was going. I shouldn't say sadly Laura Dern got hers, but like there been other times Laura Dern deserved some shit.
Laura Dern did not deserve it. I mean, that was J-Lo's award, and they just didn't want to give it to J-Lo
because she's playing a stripper. You see, like it's not even about white people strip clubs either. Like
no,
I saw Hustlers. It's like like white guys would go into that strip club, but like nah, that's like the strip club as portrayed in the movie, which might not be the same way as it was in real life. Yo, that's a strip club me and the homies would be at. I'm like, I know what type of music. Like, that music was stuff I listened to. I was like, okay. Like, I know everybody like the criminal scene, but I'm like, yeah, that's good for the movie. In real life, it would have probably been some shit from UGK, just to be quite honest. Like, I'm like, I know this whole thing. It's like, they're scared of that. They're scared of that, Rocky. Like,
and that's why I felt like the Usher thing was so perfect. Because, like, Usher would have been like, that was so timely. Like, it made so much sense. And I think what's hilarious though is it's like Laura Dern is playing a divorce lawyer whose morals are like not good either. Like she claims that she's like a champion for women, but like she basically is encouraging Scarlett Johansson's character to fuck over Adam Driver's character, even if it's not deserved. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you could very well read like Ray Liotta is very clearly meant to be like over the top and ridiculous and bad, but like Laura Dern is also playing a character who you could argue is bad. So it's interesting also that like that is what the Academy will accept. Like, oh, high-priced lawyer, divorce lawyer, we all recognize that.
Yeah, like that's like I understood like Marriage Story, like that's just like that movie and you know, Once Upon a Time, it's like, yo, that's so close to home for them. That it's like, I almost feel like they gave Laura Dern the joint for like, because she's basically playing the similar character she did on Big Little Lies, and she ain't getting no awards.
Oh
for that.
yeah.
Like it was like, yo, they robbed you at the Emmy. We got you, Laura.
Don't worry, you can have this Oscar.
like
I also could very well see. I mean, just from like a political point of view, like Laura Dern is very well liked. She has been very involved in the Academy for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, the Oscars are also like a political game. Really, what truly surprises me, is that Judy fucking won. That Renee Zellweger won for Judy. Like that, that still kind of blows my mind.
No, I knew
like,
she was gonna win that. Like when I saw it,
really?
I'm like, this is it.
Oh my god.
She's Judy Garland.
God. Ugh. Julia.
It's Judy Garland. It's like it was like she did a perfect impersonation. Like I'm like, oh, that's gonna win. What's beating it?
But I guess that for me is like why sometimes I really feel like impersonations and like biopics and like other movies should be separate, because there's part of me that feels like you mimicking someone doesn't sometimes feel to me as worth it as somebody who builds an entire character from scratch. I don't know. I don't know. It's like I would be interested in looking back to see like how many years somebody has won just for playing somebody else. Because like Rami won for playing Freddie Mercury. Like obviously Renee Zellweger just won. I don't know like if footage exists.
Forrest Whitaker won for playing a person. Jamie Foxx won for playing Ray Charles.
Right. I don't know if there's like a lot of footage of the guy that Mahershala played in Green Book, but like Mahershala won for playing somebody who existed in real life. So like I would just be curious about that. But there's part of me that feels like it's like a lot of, and you know, like Charlize Theron playing Megyn Kelly, like okay, like she was very good at looking like Megyn Kelly and like copying her mannerisms.
But like her, she sounded like her too.
Yeah,
she did a good ass job. She was copying.
But like she's copying. So yes, I don't know. So that was sort of exhausting. I also thought Renee Zellweger's speech was terrible.
That is true.
Like really bad. Like why are you talking about the Williams sisters right now? That was so uncomfortable.
That is true. Is the whole Renee Zellweger in the tens is weird anyway. Like
yeah.
Remember like she disappeared and she came back all skinny and people was like, yo, what the fuck happened to her? You're like, yo, this ain't the same woman that was in Bridget Jones' Diary, Jerry Maguire, and all these people like, who the fuck is this woman? Like, nah, y'all playing with me. Like clone, that's not also, real. That's not real person.
She's now like super Texan. Like she was always from Texas, but now the like Texan accent is like all the goddamn
never know
time.
In the 90s, it was like, oh, I just thought she was a blonde girl from California.
Right. Yeah. Oh,
like,
but
but now you're
super Texan.
You're cowgirl. Okay, let's go.
Right. Yeah.
That's
you wrangled cows on the way here. You own a ranch. Like what the fuck?
But like I knew that was going to win because there's an entire generation of people.
Yeah.
That have never seen Judy Garland.
Right.
I would say you're in a minority of people in your age group that know about Judy Garland.
Yeah, probably.
And I'm at the tail end of people who grew up like seeing all like not only just Wizard of Oz, but like all the stuff with Mickey Rooney, knowing about her life, learning about how tragic her end was. It was like her and Elvis, they would keep going back and forth like, this is so sad. They were everything. And then, you know, Mickey Rooney was still out there in movies. He would talk about his time with us. I was like to me, it's like, oh yeah, this is the Judy Garland they don't talk about. Like, the end. Like, okay. Like, and it was like she did the little songs. Then did the. I was like, oh, this got the little songs in. Oh, this is a rap. She did all that. I was like, This is over. It's over. She won. Yeah. Everybody who saw that
no,
like,
that's fair.
Like, she did the singing and the dancing, and the impersonation. She sang as Judy Garland. It was like a Las Vegas review when you paid all the money to sit down and be like, yo, this person gonna be Judy Garland? Like, oh shit. Yo, give me my shrimps. Give me my shrimp and my drink. Oh yeah. And a steak. Like, I'm out with it.
True. But again, this is depressing to me that this like shrimp buffet performance,
Las Vegas review,
won the Oscar.
Yo, can everybody go to Las Vegas? Can everybody go there?
Okay, but related though, it blows my mind that Joaquin Phoenix won basically for copying Robert De Niro, and Robert De Niro couldn't even get nominated for The Irishman.
I know what happened with that. Like, you could tell.
That's so depressing. That's so depressing.
They shouldn't. I know what Marty wanted to do.
Yeah.
But he shouldn't have done the de-aging shit.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It's like, yo, the movie's 3.5 hours long. If he's in it for an hour and a half and you got somebody else playing young Bobby D, you straight. Right. Go get Joseph Gordon-Levitt, put a bunch of makeup on him like you did with Bruce. We did like Bruce Willis or something. Get somebody. Yeah. Put some makeup. He's young Bobby D. That's young Joe Pesci. That's young Al Pacino. Just go get it. And I think that's what happened, yo. And it's about gangsters. And people want to say, the bullshit now is like, he made another gangster movie. Like, no, he makes a movie about the Italian-American experience in America in the 20th century. It happens to be tied to crime, unions, and all this other shit that really happened in real life. Just like there's so many black movies that deals with racism, the civil rights movement, slavery, and drugs. It's the same shit, except the stories, what's around the stories, it's like they're different, but it's the same type of thing. Him and Spike Lee they're making the same type of movies, even the same as bitch ass Woody Allen. Like they're making New York movies about New York people, about their ethnic group. Like,
yeah, I mean, I said this, and like you and I both agree on this. Like, it feels very often to me like Coppola, Scorsese, like all these people are making movies about like the first generation experience, but like nobody wants to talk. Like, people are not thinking about those movies from that point of view because like, oh well, like Coppola, Scorsese, like they're just white guys.
The gangster movies, it's like they're Italian Americans. They're not just white guys.
Right, they're not just white guys. So, but I feel like that, I do think legitimately that is like a lot of the dismissal is that people, and this always comes down to our conversation too about like racial dynamics versus like cultural and ethnic dynamics. And I feel like a lot of times it's like in the 70s, like that's what people were working through, and like the space for that kind of movie has collapsed in some ways and expanded in some ways. Because like we have The Farewell, like obviously like The Farewell could not have been made a decade ago, I think, even. And so
not
like there's
America.
The Asian so like the Asian American experience in that way is like expanding, but I feel like then there's like a dismissal of what like Marty is doing, which I think is unfair. But like I loved Bong calling out Marty. Like I loved that moment. That was a great moment at the Oscars. Like I loved him basically being like, Marty's the best. Quentin's really good. I've also heard that Sam and Todd make movies. like Bong was like, I don't know who y'all are. I'm sure your movies were fine. Thank you for this award.
I can probably say the only Sam Mendes movie he probably saw was probably American Beauty and Skyfall.
Yeah. Don't you think? Don't you feel like Bong watched Road to Perdition?
Yo, Sam Mendes made that?
Yes.
Yo, that when I think of that movie, it's Tom Hanks, and it's the fact that it's a comic book movie based on a DC property that everybody forgets because it's like, DC doesn't make good comic book movies. Like, bitch, have you seen Road to Perdition?
Right, Road to Perdition is great, but that's why like Sam Mendes has like a really interesting career because like he did like he did American Beauty, which like I think everybody forgets that he made American Beauty at this point, but like he made American Beauty, he made Road to Perdition, he made Revolutionary Road, which like
That's a
everybody lost
classic.
their minds
That's
about
a
because it was like
classic.
Kate Winslet and Leo. Yeah, so then he was married to Kate Winslet for a little while,
Which is
and then they
weird.
got divorced, and then he made the Bond movies, and then he made 1917. So he's
Oh
like
wait, he also
another.
made didn't he make did he make that the show the dead people show? No, he's not. That was somebody else.
No, I don't think so.
Okay,
But
my
yeah, so
bad.
it's like he's done a lot of like interesting stuff, but I feel like people at this point are just like, "Oh, he's done the Bond movies." It's like he's done so much other interesting stuff. But yeah, I feel like Bong probably saw Road to Perdition. I'm gonna say
Just
that.
straight up like I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, dude.
Like I didn't even remember that he made like for real. I just think like yo Tom Hanks is a gangster.
Mhm. Jude Law is so fucking good in that movie.
Yo, like was it like James Bond is great in that goddamn movie.
Right?
Daniel
Yeah,
Craig
like
is amazing.
everybody is dude, we're not even talking about Paul Newman. Like
Paul
Paul
New
Newman.
he was so oh man.
Yeah, it's such a good movie.
But
Like,
Sam Mendes is a
yeah.
Brit though, right?
Yeah, he's British, yeah.
So like, he's out here making like amazing shit in Britain, and it don't matter.
Yeah.
Like so it's like oh he made a Bond movie. Like you kind of got like eventually Christopher Nolan's
Yeah.
gonna make a Bond movie because he's British.
Yeah.
Like he's like yo
Oh,
I need to make this shit.
right. Also, did we know that Sam Mendes' dad is from Trinidad and Tobago?
Oh he's a white dude from there.
I guess
Hey man, colonizers they be out there. I'm not.
they're
Hey.
out there. They're just doing whatever.
Wait, like wasn't it like his grandfather that was in World War One? Like you get to the end of the movie and it's
I
just like
think.
I was like oh
Yeah.
shit, like oh.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I'm the only person that walks around and said like yo 1917 is the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, I think that because again, I think that a lot of people I don't know, man. I think a lot of people don't understand that like a lot of art is made in response to something. Cuz again, it's like people think that like Marty's just making gangster movies. Okay, but you're not thinking about the fact that like the immigration experience of the 20th century fed into the need to create like mafia families to protect yourself because the police wouldn't. Like Lord of the Rings was inspired by the time in World War One with the trenches and good versus evil. Like I feel like a lot of this stuff feels like divorced from context, and I feel that a lot because I think like you've seen this on Twitter, I'm sure, that like since Parasite's win, there have been all these rich people who are like, I don't understand what the rich family did that was bad in Parasite. Like, did you see the co-creator of Chappelle Show, like, getting into it with a bunch of people online? Because he was like, Parasite wasn't a good movie. The rich family didn't do anything wrong. Did you see any of this?
No.
Oh, yeah.
I still haven't watched all of Parasite yet.
Okay, so, like, Neil Brennan from Chappelle Show,
Mhm.
like, was just, like, randomly replying to people who were, like, praising
But he's
Parasite.
a comedian though, so we gotta take everything he might say with a grain of salt.
No, trust me, it was not comedic. Like he was like going after people. Like he went after this black woman who's like a TV writer, and he was like, "Do you really think that like your understanding of media is like better than mine?" And she was like, "Yes." But like, so it feels like it's like I feel like a lot of people are not understanding that like Bong as a filmmaker for like his last 4 films has critiqued capitalism as like an entire ecosystem.
Yeah,
Like
Okja, like
Snowpiercer, like
there's no like Snowpiercer, like it's like
it could not get more
like
obvious.
yo the
than
poor people in the
Snowpiercer.
back of the train, the rich people in the front of the train. Yo, we gotta get to the
Right.
front of the train as Captain America and like
Right.
a random Korean dude you ain't never heard of in America unless you watch movies.
Mhm.
And they're walking their way through the whole thing, fighting people. I'm like, oh, this shit is hard. Like,
Mhm. These like really like Hong Kong style fight scenes, like it is yeah. So it's very interesting to me too to see people who are like, oh, like Parasite, whatever, and I'm like, do you understand what Bong's doing? Like, do you
even
get
the
it?
host, like the host, like the host.
Oh yeah, the host.
And
Yeah,
like that
for
shit is
sure.
like about America, basically. Like
Yeah,
it's a monster movie
yeah,
about America. Like all his shit is about something. But let's
yeah.
be honest, Americans, even a lot of fans of East Asian cinema, don't understand what the hell is going on in East Asian cinema. Like I talk to people, and like you don't know what this is about. Like some people think Akira is just about kids screaming. Like
Mm-hmm.
nah, man, this is about post-war Japan and being hit with an atomic bomb, and like it's a lot of things going on. Or like old Bruce Lee movies is about like Japan's occupation of China,
Mm-hmm. Well,
and
because
it like
I think a lot of times it's like it's about format, and you know this probably better than most people because like you're so into animated stuff. It's like I feel like a lot of people think like, oh, it's animated, like that's not for adults, or like, oh, it's like a horror movie, then it can't have anything to say. And so I feel like people treat like I feel like a good example of this is like Get Out. Like Get Out was a genre breaking film, and like it accomplished a lot within its format, but then I feel like people think like Get Out was the only movie to do that, whereas like horror has been doing that like for decades. Like it's been talking about like honestly who would die first in these scenarios. So like if you go back to like Romero's zombie movies,
oh
like
yeah,
that's the shit he's talking about. Like Night of the Living Dead, like it's set in a fucking mall. Like a lot of these movies like are about critiquing our status quo, but like I think it's so much the time people like don't look further than that. And it's interesting to me because it's like Sorry to Bother You is a movie that is saying a lot of the same stuff that like Parasite is saying, but I haven't seen that many comparisons between the two of them. So like it's just like
it's
it's
the
just
twist.
interesting.
It's the
Yeah.
Sorry to Bother
The-
You twist where like I remember when it
yeah.
came out, even like talking to like Tim and stuff. It was like, yo, that part
Oh,
where you
Tim
see
hated it.
the wait,
Yeah.
spoiler when the horse people pop out, people
Yeah.
were like, yo, I don't understand what's going on. And I'm like, tell me more.
Right. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this is what I'm talking like. Or like I remember there's a part when I was watching Mother, right? This has nothing to do with this, but everybody was like into it in the beginning. And I was like, this shit is wild born. Yeah, Adam and Eve, blah 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 blah, God, all this. And then like when like the baby was taken and then ripped apart and shit, and then like everything started going to hell, and it was news cam. I was like, everyone was like, I don't like this. I was like, yes, humanity is trash. This is the
Yeah.
point. This is the point. This
Yeah.
is one of his best shits ever.
Yeah. For sure.
And people were like, this movie's terrible. I'm like, no, it has a point.
Yeah, this works for me. But I feel like that's exactly also like I feel like people are not. I mean, again, I could be wrong, and maybe I'm like not giving people enough credit, like whatever. But like, but I think people are not realizing that like Parasite ends in a tragedy because the son becomes a capitalist. Like I feel like do you know what I mean? Like I don't understand. Like I think people are not realizing that the son being like, Dad, I'm gonna make a lot of money and buy this house and free you. Like that's not supposed to be a good thing. Like that's not supposed to be a reassuring moment. But I've definitely talked to people who are like, oh no, that's good. Like
that's the American
it shows
dream.
how much right, it shows how much he loves his family. I'm like, oh no, oh, you did not get that then. So that's been interesting. And it's also been interesting seeing like a lot of celebrities also say that like you should see Parasite, like Chrissy Teigen and like Ryan Reynolds and all this stuff. And like I'm not saying that Parasite says that like all rich people should be murdered, because it's not really saying that, I don't think. But it is critiquing a system that allows multi-millionaires to exist. So like it's very interesting to me to see like a lot of like support from like A-list people of this film without the self-awareness of like, oh, this movie is critiquing me. Do you know what I mean? So like that's been sort of interesting to see in terms of like how American audiences have reacted to Parasite. So yeah, so I don't know. I just was really happy that it won. And I mean, I would have been okay with most anything. Like, if Once Upon a Time in Hollywood won, that would have been fine. Like, there were a lot of options this year, and, like, a lot of them were really good options. I really was afraid that Joker was going to win a lot of stuff. So,
I knew a lot of people who shares your opinion and even more drastic versions of this opinion, and they saw all the award nominations, and they were all
Mhm.
worried. I'm like, guys, we all seen the same movie.
Right.
Even if I like it, have you seen these other movies? Like, it's
Right.
not
Right.
like Joaquin is the only thing. I was surprised when people respected the score. I was like, once I saw her win a couple times, I was like, all right, bet she gonna win the score. But
Yeah. Yeah.
like, that's it. Like, nah, like I just knew it. Like, it doesn't matter. It got 11. Like, half of them
Mhm.
was technical awards. I'm like, it's not gonna win makeup. Like,
Mhm.
yo, they made Charlize Theron into Megan Kelly. Like,
Right. Right.
that's a win. Like, it's not winning costume. This woman had to sew
You know.
period
You
pieces.
you know. First of all, correct. Period pieces usually always win. But costume was actually a surprise because I had seen in some of those like early ballads that people like talked about or whatever, they kept talking about how much they liked Joker's suit. So
This suit is
I really
dope,
thought
but
is the suit gonna be what wins?
no,
Like you know,
it was too. It's she had to make too many dresses.
she made so many dresses,
Like,
so many dresses.
I was mad that like Dolomite's My Name wasn't nominated because like
Oh
that's an
yeah.
equal amount of work. Like,
Oh my God.
she had to make all them clothes for all them people from a certain
Yeah.
period in America, from a certain region. And it was
Yep.
like, okay, but they're probably like, yo, she got that joint for Black Panther last year, so nah, she good for right now. Like I
Yeah.
didn't expect it any way. Like, I
Mhm.
just knew Joker wasn't gonna win it. Like, it's not winning best adapted screen. Like, bruh, it's adapted because the creator was created by people in 1940. Like, what they're adapting Alan Moore shit. They're adapting like a couple other people's shit. Like, no, like it's not getting, it ain't getting adapted. Like, what it can't. It's not gonna win best picture. Like,
But
it's not
see,
there.
I totally understand that, but I also think that in a post Green Book world, nobody knows what the fuck is going to happen.
That's, I do think that's true, but I just like again, I was like 1917 went too much shit, so I'm like, it's about war, and the
Right.
world's going to trash, and
Right.
war is real close, and you know
Right.
how like Europe likes to remind us like, hey, you know when we start fighting each other, the whole world goes to crap. I
Yeah.
always think that this thing's like they always come out with like a World War movie back when it's just like, hey, you know when we all beef, we pull everybody into this shit, and the world is trash for
Mhm.
like 8 years.
Mhm.
So I just
Mhm.
again, and then Parasite hit. I want to see the group chat because there had
Yeah.
to be some type of conspiracy, not a bad one, but literally like people like, yo, like we all read those person's things on Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah.
We cannot let Quentin win.
Well, I really think what it probably came down to is I could see there being like three really strong contingencies. Like I could really see all the British people voting for 1917.
Mm-hmm.
I could see most of the older American people voting for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I could see like a lot of the younger group and the international group voting for Parasite. Especially because like how they do like the weighted ballot.
Yeah.
Like I could definitely see like just various factions happening. And that's also how I sort of feel like Green Book won last year because I feel like probably a lot of groups like divided between what they were going to support and that allowed like Green Book to slide in or like Shape of Water. Like I love Shape of Water and like it was great and I thought it was like wonderful that it won or whatever, but like Shape of Water was weird as hell. So I could also see like
Yeah. I think they just
if
wanted
a
to
lot
give
of
him a award. I think they wanted to let Guillermo get his award so his homies he wouldn't be the only one left out. I really
I mean
felt like that.
I think it could be that and I also feel like it's like, you know, like what I think a lot too, it's like, what is the vibe of the year? Like, I feel like in this current cultural moment, like, Parasite feels very relevant. So I could also see, like, you know, I could very well see, like, certain voters being like, this feels like right now and this feels like real life. Whereas I could also see Green Book being the opposite of that with people where it's like, oh, like, it would be so nice if, like, we could all come together. Let's vote for Green Book.
Yeah. Yeah, Parasite
Well, like,
is like what people could probably say. It's the Bernie and Warren movie. Like
Right.
Capitalism is evil.
Yeah. Except for where, Elizabeth Warren says that she is a proud capitalist. She doesn't believe she's not a socialist. It's really the Bernie movie.
I'll consider myself a capitalist too. But I consider myself a capitalist because this is what I was born into, so that's what it is.
Right.
Like,
yeah, like that's a lot of it. Is like I don't know any other system, so sure, I'm a capitalist, but like, do I actually think that that is the system that would benefit all people? No, I don't. Yeah, I mean, obviously, it hasn't. Like, so yeah. But were there any things that really excited you? Like any wins that really excited you, or any moments from the show that you really liked?
I liked Brad Pitt's speech.
Mm-hmm. I liked it except for where he mentioned John Bolton, because there's part of me that feels like those really explicitly political things, like, I don't care about.
I do. Much. That's true. Like John Bolton's trash, but I do get the point. Yeah, like y'all didn't even let him testify. Y'all ain't shit. But
what I feel about John Bolton is like what I feel about all these motherfuckers, where it's like John Bolton could just make an announcement. He could just call a press release, like call for a press conference, right? Like, fuck your fucking book that's gonna cost like $30 Like, if you actually cared about the country, you would just call a press conference and be like, "This is all the shit I overheard Trump said. You don't need to subpoena me. Like, I'm just gonna make all that shit public."
Rocky, so like, we gotta get the bag.
I know.
That's the statement of Parasite. We gotta get the bag.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's the kind of shit where I'm just like, there was a part of me that's, and honestly, and this is what it all comes down to, is like, so much of this political cycle and like the Democrats have been like, like, this election is about like uniting the country. There's very much a part of me that does not care about uniting the country.
There's a part of the country that doesn't care about you at all. So like, why the fuck should I care about rural Montana? They don't give a fuck about me. They don't care about anybody. Outside the area.
Right. Like, my entire life, we've been operating under this assumption that, like, all of America should be, like, united. That's never happened. Ever. And, like, why should I care about, like, compromising what I believe in because, like, some asshole in Wyoming thinks something different? So, yeah. So that's just been, like, super, super tiring.
I like the faces of everyone. When Eminem popped up on the stage, started rapping,
oh my god,
Lose Yourself.
That's amazing.
The range of like emotions and you could tell the ages of the people who everybody who like was like, oh, like, this is my time. Like, I'm an Eminem fan. I like rap music. They were all so focused. It was like, Mom Spaghetti. You gotta lose yourself to the most. You can see it. They was rapping the whole time with it, like, yeah. Marshall Mathers is on stage, and then you got like the old people like. What is going? What is?
I liked.
Marty was sleep. Marty was sleep. He was like, "Oh, this is nap time. I'm out."
Marty's clip is hilarious because Marty is like really slowly blinking, but also like nodding his head. So I feel like Marty was just like, "This is weird, but like I'll give it a chance." And his daughter next to him was probably like, "Dad, this is actually really cool. Like, I don't know what you're talking about." And then Billie Eilish was very bored.
She was like, "What?" Like. Her face was like, why? But her brother, though, her brother was like, Eminem. Yeah. I'm Eminem.
Phineas was really excited.
Like, he was like, the divide. Like,
yes. Phineas was really excited. And then, like, Anthony Ramos and Jasmine Cephas Jones were, like, super into it.
We spitting bars.
Yeah, they were really excited.
I would have just a gif of them with the word bars over top, because that's peak rap fan right there. It's like, yes. Yeah. You hear him spitting those bars. Yes. Look at the cadence. Look at the meter. There's a rap god on stage. We must focus.
Yeah, that was pretty funny. The only thing there were a lot of moments where I felt like it's like they wanted to incorporate more young people, and it just felt weird. Like for Anthony Ramos, it's like he introduced Lin-Manuel Miranda, who then introduced the musical segment, which then introduced Eminem. Like, it felt like there were a lot, because there wasn't a host. It felt like there was a lot of like introductions and like segues, and I don't know. I don't know that I missed a host, but I don't know if the way that they did it this year is the way that they should always do it.
Chris Rock and Steve Martin setting up things was like,
Yeah.
they were so good. I'm like, why didn't you just let them just be like? Why didn't y'all just call Audible and be like, yeah, you guys are hosting now?
Right. You know who I really wish would host? I feel like Leslie Jones would be a really good host.
Yes.
You know, like, I feel like she's always very excited about things. Like, I liked the stuff that she did for the Olympics.
Oh,
Like,
it's great.
you know, yeah. So I feel like that actually would have been really good. Like, I guess I'm just very tired of the fact that it's always like late night TV hosts, or, you know, people who've done it like a million times before. Like, I feel like Leslie would have been really good. I mean, like, there are tons of people that they could choose from. It's just, I don't know if they don't want to pay because like viewership is always down.
They
But
didn't want
like,
to deal with the tweets. Honestly, like the Kevin
Yeah.
Hart thing ruined it. Like,
yeah, that's possible too. That's also possible. But then it's like, it's two things. It's either like, when you're making a contract with somebody, be like, you need to delete all your old tweets, or
that doesn't
like,
work anymore though.
but see, you know what though? I do feel like if somebody actually puts out like a preemptively like good statement, it would not matter. But like, Kevin Hart like doubled down before he apologized, and I actually don't even remember if he ever actually apologized.
Well, he apologized
Like-
before, but like
Okay.
years before. But
Right.
then they brought it back up, and he's like,
Right.
but we went, like, this already happened.
Right.
And I thought
But
the
I think-
apology was good, so I have to apologize. Like, it gets to a point where it's like, oh, you mean I have to apologize about this for the rest of my entire life?
Right. And
And
I
I'm
can
not
understand
doing that.
I understand the point of it, but I guess my issue also with that is it's like, but theoretically you would be taking a job, like, here's my thing. I don't think anybody is as famous as they think they are anymore. Like, I think the peak height of being famous was like Prince and Michael Jackson. Like, I don't think anybody is as famous as people used to be like in the 80s and 90s.
Okay.
So there is very much a part of me that's like, yes, a lot of people know who Kevin Hart is. He's hugely popular, but like, let's be real, like, a lot of Oscar viewers are like old ass white people. So there is this part of me that feels like it's like, I sort of think if you're taking a job which is one of the most high profile jobs in the world, then like, people are going to hold you accountable. And I personally don't feel like it's that big of a deal if you're an exceptionally rich person taking a job that's going to make you even more rich, just to like issue some sort of statement that like explains sort of what happened and how you feel about it. And I feel like it would have been as easy as like, I'm so excited to host the Oscars this year. Like, I have grown a lot as a person, blah, blah, blah. Or like, my tweets no longer reflect what I believe. Blah. Like, I don't know. Like, you know, like, he turned his apology into a Netflix show. So to go back to your point, it's like everybody's just looking for like a way to monetize every aspect of their lives. And that to me just is like sort of exhausting. So I don't know. It's like how I felt about Joaquin's speech, like, to be like a real asshole. Like, there's part of me that
the thing with the cow.
yeah, like, I mean, I don't know. Like, I do think Joaquin's been doing a lot of like good work or whatever, but there's also part of me that's like, look, man, like, you're winning for this award, you're winning for a fucking comic book movie, and like, when you get up there, like, I understand that your intentions are good, but like, there's a better way to deliver what you want to say than this, like, oh man, like, I'm so nervous to be up here, and like, oh, I'm like fidgety and I don't know what I want to say. And it's like, so much of this stuff, it's like, keep it moving. Like, just say like, thank you so much for this award. Like, I have something that is really close to my heart that I want to share with you guys. Don't eat meat. Don't fly private. Blah, blah, blah.
His
Oh, by
bastard
the
speech
way,
was so good though.
by
That's
the
the problem.
by the way, my girlfriend is the daughter of 2 billionaire families, but I'm going to come up here and tell you like my political opinions. I don't know, man. It just, yes.
Yeah.
His speech was really good. Yes.
And that's
But-
what like set him up, and then like,
And then the
talking
Oscars-
about the cow stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
All right, and then like I didn't even know Rooney Mara was that caked up.
Oh, you didn't know that, huh?
No, she's the skinny chick that was in the Social Network, and then she was in the girl with the dragon tattoo. Like her sister was in the first season of House of Cards. That's it. That's all I know. I'm like, y'all the skinny white girls who be in some stuff, and then she kind of like
Yeah.
disappeared. She's not even in a lot of stuff right now. And then people tell me
She's
like,
not in
oh
a lot of
yeah,
stuff. Yeah.
they own a
She's
bunch
not
of teams. I'm like, what do you mean? What? Huh?
Yeah, dude. They own the Steelers and the Giants.
Like,
Yeah, dude.
how do you own 2 football teams?
Yeah. So again, so not to be an asshole, but like Joaquin Phoenix wants to come tell me about how like we should all be vegan. Yeah, being vegan is actually really
expensive.
fucking expensive. It's extremely expensive. So yeah. Also, whatever, this might get me in trouble, whatever. I don't appreciate somebody comparing like racism with like animal abuse. I don't know. I just felt like his speech was trying to
Well,
say that like
that's peak white people shit.
that's peak white people shit to be like, and I agree with you. I totally agree with you. Like the majority, it's something like some insane amount of land in the US. It's like more land is used for like cow farms in the US than actual land that like people live on. So yes, we have a major problem in this country in terms of what we eat. But like please don't come up there and tell me that like that is worse than racism or capitalism. Like, no, that's bad. Don't do that. And I definitely think that's what he did.
That was like his last. That was his last like.
Yeah.
Like his speeches, that was like his last thesis statement, right? So like,
Yeah.
whatever his Golden Globe speech was, and then you get to his SAG speech, and then you get to his BAFTA speech, where everybody was like, "This is what we talking about, yeah." And then you get to the Oscar speech, it's like, "What do you mean about the cow, the calf being yanked for the milk?" But like,
yeah.
but bruh, like,
yes,
like that's
Yeah.
my thing. Even when people try to like get on me about like oat milk and stuff, I was like, "Do you know how much oat milk costs?"
Do you know how much it costs?
And like,
Yeah.
and like,
And here's my thing. This is always my thing, and I'm always gonna like this about me. All of these things are because of capitalism. All of these things, like how expensive veganism is, like all of these things that you are making statements about are inherently because of an economic structure where the number one priority always is to make more money than the person next to you. Like if you really want to talk about like veganism and how we should all like change our lives, then like maybe talk about the cattle industry and how much power they have in terms of lobbying the US government. Talk about the fact that like farmers get tons of agricultural kickbacks from the US government. Like so it's one of those things that's really hard for me because I feel like a lot of times so many of these speeches are talking about like what you can do as an individual, and like a lot of stuff you can't do as an individual because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like
so,
who is he talking to? Is he talking to the people in the audience there? Who is his fellow rich people? Because he damn sure ain't talking to the person who just watching Channel 7 because it's their ABC network and like they haven't seen all the movies because straight up being vegan is cool, but McDonald's put out the McGriddle McChicken and it costs $1.50.
It costs $1. Yeah,
I'm eating that shit.
Right.
Like I got a lot of options. I can't be vegan right now, but
Right. So actually, it's one of those things where it's like, actually, like vegetables and stuff are inexpensive, but this entire like vegan lifestyle and like what goes into that is expensive. So it's just one of those things where like those moments from the Oscars like felt sort of out of touch to me and in a way sort of performative. Like Brad Pitt mentioning John Bolton, I don't care about that. Like Joaquin talking about veganism, I don't care about that. Like there's sometimes a part of me that feels like in these moments, can you just keep it like personal? Like Bong talking about like how to make personal movies is like the most brave shit that you can do. Like that to me was what was meaningful. But like, I don't know. I mean, it was a good Oscar ceremony and that like a lot of movies I liked were honored. But it still kind of blows my mind that The Irishman didn't win anything at all.
They still hate Netflix, Rocky.
Yeah. Well, and to your point,
American Factory.
Right, which
Obama.
Yeah, okay.
Obama.
Yeah,
I'll
Obama.
tell you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Like, you don't want to nominate, you don't want either of the two documentaries which are about Syria and how the US has helped fuck up Syria. Okay, we're not gonna, neither of those is gonna win.
Like, For Sama should win.
Yeah, For Sama was great.
For Sama, you can watch for free because Frontline just put it on television one night that you could just watch whenever on the PBS site. It's it's the most actually easiest one to see.
Right, so accessible. Yeah.
And it's like, and it's nothing. I'm not even knocking what the movie they helped produce and they put out there. And these people, this is like their third time get nominated. And they finally got one. But I'm like, okay. And it's like the only award Netflix get, because there's still this bias. I still think everything that happened with Roma was because it was Mexican, and all this shit Trump was doing in Mexico was the reason why it won.
Oh yeah,
and you couldn't deny it because it's that good.
Right.
So they had, like, people were going to straight up vote for it, but it wasn't for, like, it probably could have won more if it didn't have that red Netflix logo on it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, and this goes back to it's all about, like, the cultural moment. Like, right now, this was the right cultural moment for Parasite. Like, of course, people want to award American Factory because it's like, oh, like, American workers. Like, and I'm not saying that any of that is bad, because, like, all movie viewing is, like, subjective. Like, yeah, you have, like, technical criteria, but it's all about, like, how it makes you feel and what you like. It's just some of these choices I feel like are sort of, like, blatantly in response to Trump in a way that makes me sort of tired, because, again, it makes you think that, like, Trump is the only problem. Like,
it absolve people's guilt.
Yeah, like, nah, dude, like, the entire fucking system is the problem, but, like, you just want to say that Trump is the problem. So yeah, so it was an interesting year. I mean, I'm pleased by what won. I hope you finish Parasite. Like, I need to talk to you about that, but
seems like everybody needs to talk to me about Parasite. And I'm like, yeah, there's so much television though.
I know. But
there's so much television.
But I would be really curious about your thoughts, because, like, you've seen Bong's other movies, and, like, I think you know the sort of stuff that he's trying to say.
Yeah.
So, like, I would be super curious what your thoughts are on it. And I'm sorry to, like, wrap you up. I just gotta do some other shit.
No, I never planned to be on this long, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because, like, I haven't seen you in, like, a fucking year, so
you be, like, far away. Well, it wasn't a year. I saw you at the film festival.
I know, but that was, like, 6 months ago.
Yeah. You live far.
That was, like, a long ass time ago. Yeah. I mean, I know that, like, Fast and Furious will absolutely be something we have to see together, but that's, like, in 2 months.
That's gonna be lit. When Han come back,
I'm
gonna have to be the annoying person in the audience, for real.
Oh yeah,
like, he was never dead.
Right, that's one that we definitely have to make sure that, like, we're all together for, because, like, that's gonna be the way to do that most hype. Like, that'll be good for sure.
Black Avengers 5.
Oh yeah,
I love it.
I know.
Oh,
but yeah.
Tell people where they can follow you, where they can find your writing.
Oh, sure.
Because you write a lot more places now.
Right. I mean, some places. You can follow me on Twitter. It's Roxana, ROXANA _ Hadadi, HADADI. My most common outlet is Pajiba. I also write for the AV Club and Bright Wall Dark Room and some other places. So just follow me. I mean, like, fair warning, like, 80% of my tweets are thirst tweets, which Julian knows. But every so often thirsty. I say something insightful on there. Did you see my very random James Marsden tweet that has gone viral for some reason? It has 35,000 likes.
What? You mean the one that's talking about the
umbrella?
Oh, you doing big things. You got a viral tweet.
Julian,
that's what's up.
So stupid. Like,
look it out there. Sonic is giving you gifts. God damn it.
Because you know who retweeted it yesterday? The original Magneto, Ian McKellen.
The OG. Yeah. Magneto was right.
Ian McKellen was like, you know what? James Marsden is very hot. I will retweet this.
Young Gandalf. He's like, retweet. Young Gandalf out here. Thirst tweeting. His old castmate. That's what I'm talking about. You do it.
So good.
You do a good liar. You do a good liar.
Right? Good Liar was really
Yo,
good.
that shit was
Like, can
fire.
we
That was an
agree?
adult
That
movie.
was great.
That was an adult
wanted
movie.
that.
That was a movie for adults. They need to make
Right.
more of those.
Yeah, like movies for adults. That's what I want. Like, that's what I want.
Had
It's
nobody in costumes, Rocky.
No, nobody was in
Nobody's
costume.
in costumes.
No, it didn't start out in Adam Sandler's ass. It wasn't Uncut Gems. Like,
Yo,
it was a great time.
Fuck that movie.
It was a great time.
The Safdies is the new Lynch for me. Like you people gonna bring them up and I'll be like, yo, all the joints is kind of like not for me.
Yeah. You know what's hilarious? Did you hear that? Okay, I'll say this and then I'll get off. Did you hear that story that Scorsese told about the Safdies, where he was like, they would just come to the set of The Irishman and like not leave? Like, they would just like come and like post up for the day to like watch Marty work. Like,
Oh my God,
that's what I want. How come that can't be in my life? Like, are you kidding me?
Oh, I can have a whole bunch of things I can say about that, but I might be called like a racist and a terrible person and a whole bunch of other shit. But yeah, privilege is a thing though.
Oh,
capitalism.
Rich New York City privilege is a hell of a thing. Nobody wants to talk about the fact that the Safdies are like rich as hell.
I could make movies about shitty white guys too if I had a whole bunch of money and people gave me access.
Right. I'm like, oh, you went to a $30,000 a year prep school? Cool. Yeah. Like, I don't even dislike the Safdie brothers that much. Like, Uncut Gems was fine. It's just interesting who becomes, like, how these narratives get made. That, like, the Safdies are these, like, gritty New York City filmmakers, like, doing so much with so little. And I'm like, you're really pretending that, like, the New York City... Right, that the New York City, like, rich art kid culture does not, like, it exists. Like, they benefit from that. Like, that doesn't mean that their movies aren't good. Like, they're technically very well made. But, like, again, you're coming from a system that was created to benefit you. So, yeah.
If that movie's about Lakeith Stanfield character, I would have liked it.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
He's the only person I cared about that entire... And the girlfriend, like, she was good. Like, she was coming through, you know what I'm saying? Like, she was dealing with shit, but...
Right. She was fine. Like, and that's how I felt. Is like, for the most part, it's like, I don't always need to relate to a character to find them interesting or, like, to be interested in a movie about them. But there was so much about Sandler's character that I was like, I don't care. Like, I'm sorry. And it didn't make me that anxious. Like, everyone being like, it's the movie that made me, like, the most nervous. I'm like, yeah, gambling's bad.
1970 had me more tense than like Uncut Gems. I was like, oh shit, like, yo, oh man, they busting at him. Oh man, like, what's gonna happen to the old boy? Like, oh,
right.
They saved the man in the airplane. Oh, he did them dirty. Like, oh, I'm like, Mark Strong is here. Oh shit, what's gonna happen? Like, I'm like, Uncut Gems. I'm like, yeah, I've been to the Diamond District. It ain't that tense. Like,
it's all right. Like, it's fine.
Maybe don't gamble on like 3 games a night. You'll be all right. Like, you know,
right. Maybe
cares?
Like, don't sell Kevin Garnett's championship ring and, like, it's good. Like, what do you want me to say? Yeah.
But all right. Thanks for being
all
on. Hopefully
no problem, man.
We'll see each other soon in the coming first half of the year.
Yeah. Please. I miss you so deeply. So, yeah, let's make that happen.
All right. Have a great day.
All right, man. Thanks for having me on.
Bye.
Bye.